Hello, ISD students. This is Mrs. Stockdale from Bridger, and in today's lesson, we are going to continue our focus on East Asia, but we're going to begin looking at the history of China specifically. And you guys are going to be learning today about the early dynasties who ruled China over quite a long period of time. And you're also going to be learning about something called the Dynastic Cycle. So before we talk about ancient Chinese dynasties, we first need to define the word dynasty. So I want you to think about that word and where you might have heard that word before. Some of you who are sports enthusiasts might have heard of sports dynasties. This refers to sports teams who have dominated their sport for a number of years. You might also have thought about the ancient Egyptian dynasties who ruled ancient Egypt, and we studied that earlier in the school year. When we talk about ancient China and the history of China, we are going to learn that there were a series of family bloodlines who ruled China over the course of many years. And these family bloodlines are called dynasties. So if you look at this timeline, each of these dynasties represents a different bloodline or a different family who took over power at different times. So you can see that there were numerous dynasties who ruled China. And the first dynasty that included written records was called the Shang Dynasty. And you can see that their dynasty began in 1766 BCE. So this refers to ancient times. And then the last dynasty to rule in China ended in 1911 CE. So this is not even 200 years ago, just over 100 years ago did the dynasties stop ruling in China. So that is quite a long time that Chinese dynasties had an impact on China's history. And just to put these numbers into perspective with what you've learned over the course of the school year, if you look at this timeline, you can see right here where it says Sumerians. This indicates the beginning of ancient Mesopotamia, which we studied earlier in the year, in about 4500 BC or BCE. And then we went into ancient Egypt, and you can see that that civilization began around 3000 BC or BCE. And then right up here in the pink, this is where the ancient Chinese dynasties began. And you can see that that's indicated about 1766 BC or BCE. So this timeline just puts into perspective all of the civilizations that you've learned about so far and how they kind of correlate with one another. Now we are going to learn about something called the dynastic cycle. And it's really important to understand that each dynasty in Chinese history went through this entire cycle before another dynasty took power. So just like in ancient Egypt, the pharaohs believed that they had the power of the gods, so too in Chinese history, the people believed that a new dynasty had the gods' approval. And so this was called the mandate of heaven. So again, you can see the impact of religious beliefs in the leadership of this ancient civilization. Over time, and this could take hundreds of years, the dynasty's power would begin to grow weaker. And over the course of that time, natural disasters would occur, such as floods, famines, invasions. And so this would cause the people of China to believe that the dynasty had begun to lose their God's approval. And so eventually the people would become dissatisfied with that dynasty and overthrow that dynasty. And to them, that was an indication that that dynasty had lost the God's approval. And then a new dynasty would come into power and restore peace and order, and the entire cycle would begin over again. So throughout Chinese history, anytime that you see a change in power or a change in dynasty, you know that this dynastic cycle had fully occurred. What you're going to be doing now is you're going to be watching a read aloud video to learn more about the different dynasties who ruled China. And you're going to be answering some questions to bring some understanding to what you have just watched. I hope you enjoy the lesson, have fun, and thanks for tuning in.